Much of the worldview is formed when we look at TV or we go and see a film, you know, in the cinema. Now, take Blood Diamonds, for example. That was a great film, and it was, you know, very realistic. It entertained us, but it also showed us something of the conflict that was being fueled by diamonds in West Africa. And it showed something of the greed, you know, from big companies right through to the suffering of individual people. But no matter how realistic a film is, there's still a bag of popcorn between us and the reality of the situation. For myself, my own bag of popcorn was removed when I was in the Gambia in 2011, and at that time I met a group of refugees who asked me if I'd listened to their story.
Le monde, beaucoup de blessés qui poursuivaient les gens à la maison, de maison en maison. Bon, on a perdu notre frère, même mon grand frère présentement quitté le pays en 2005.
Because I refused to give my dad that what they took plier and hold my teeth out.
5h30 comme ça, matin, bonne heure. Il y a un militaire qui est venu dans le quartier, commencer à attraper les jeunes garçons comme ça. Si on attrape, on prend. Si on t'attrape, on prend. Jusqu'à on m'a tué mon frère.
I don't have no one to help me. My parents, everyone on it died in the war.
Sometimes 3 men, sometimes 4 men, they raped me. My father was tortured and killed.
At that time, I met a lady called Martha. Martha impressed me a lot. The thing about Martha is she was a support to people who were weaker than her. She was also somebody that, you know, was a leader among her people. You know, the women looked to her for leadership. The women looked to her for guidance. And she was somebody who, you know, although she'd been through a lot herself, tried to help other people.
Most of our small girls, they have dropped out. They have been used. They have been abused here sexually. You can see small girls. Most of the girls that drop out from school, they have become alcoholics. I'm their leader. I'm facing these problems. I'm traumatized because every day I see problems. Our women suffering, our children suffering.
Martha's story was a very, very painful one. She was married, she had 3 children. She lived in Kona. And one night, you know, they were sleeping and the rebels came into town. They were woken by gunfire. Before they could gather themselves and escape, the door came bursting in. The rebels beat her, dragged her outside. At that point, she was raped by 5 men. She was then dragged off into the jungle, weeping. The last thing that she could see was her house burning. She was taken into the jungle and she was kept there for 2 years. And in that time she was repeatedly raped.
Away from Liberia first because I was raped. And my brother was killed right in front of my face. So I ran away the first time and went back because I was playing golf. And when I went back, I was managing the club. And because of that, I was later on this 2003. I was raped again because they said I had money and I'm managing the place. They killed my son. I have 3 children. Over 10 years, I've not seen 2. The one was killed in front of me. So I had to run away because when they raped me, they had to take me to Redemption Hospital to do operation on me to remove the instrument that they incited in me.
At that time, she managed to escape. She made her way to St. Paul's Bridge, where her father lived, and her father, seeing her, was shocked. Her father thought that she'd died with the rest of her family. This was her lot. You know, she was in hospital, and the day her stitches were coming out, a grenade blew up in the hospital, and the war caught up in them again, and she had to flee again. At this time, her brother was shot in front of her eyes. She took refugee status, and she ended up in the Gambia. If I could mention just something about the corruption that existed in the Gambia between the Gambian government and the UNHCR, it meant that money had been provided for refugees by the international community and by the UN. But this money never siphoned through to them. Anything that they gave was just a token, something to tick the boxes. People never had that accommodation paid for. Their children were not paid for to go to school. They never had money for food. They never had money for the rent of their houses. They were always getting evicted.
I told them that we are suffering. We have some women who are living in bad conditions. I have some women, the house I'm living, it is an unfinished house. Somebody decided to give me that place. I have 3 refugee women living there with me. I don't have food to give them. But every day they live there with me, they are suffering. We are suffering here. Economically, socially, we cannot cope in this country.
Women turned to prostitution, young men turned to drugs, young girls were alcoholics, they were being sexually abused, sexually exploited, and they were being abandoned by the international community. At this time they asked me to take their complaint to the UN in Geneva. The UN in Geneva washed their hands of them, and when the UN in Geneva washed their hands of these people, the Gambian government moved in and arrested them for complaining. Martha at this time received word from people in prison that had been arrested that she was next and she was on the list and she had to get out of the country. At this point she escaped, or she went to San Pedro in the Ivory Coast. This meant that she had to start over again. She's still a refugee, she's still somebody that is, you know, no support, no means of support, and it's no better than San Pedro. The good news is, I was speaking to Martha and she told me that she had discovered her daughter was not dead. I have since spoke to Delane on the phone, and Delane tells me that, you know, her story is that she managed to get out of the house when it was burning, and the rebels took a hold of her, they raped her, they poured burning plastic on her stomach, and she was given, you know, a lady took her to a refugee station. She was taken to Ghana, and from Ghana she was resettled in Australia. I spoke to a number of refugees when I was in the Gambia, and all their stories are harrowing. You know, they're all looking for something, they're all looking for a way out, a better life. And the truth is, you know, we can't help everybody. I can't help everybody. Even a country like Britain or Australia can't help everybody. But sometimes we get a case on our desk and we can do something. And Martha's case is one that I think deserves attention. This is a day's work for you, but it's Martha's life, it's Delane's life. It's people that have lost everything. And someday you can go home from work and know that you've done the right thing. And I would ask that this would be a day that you could do that. Thanks very much for your time. Thanks very much for your consideration. And I would just ask, please, 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 please help this lady, help this family. Thank you.